Hi everyone. Today we have a great podcast and I hope you enjoy. We had a great conversation with Savana Lee and it was so amazing everything that we talked about, and I really hope that you listen to the whole thing and enjoy. And let me talk a little bit about Savana. Savana Lee is an international artist, published author, wife and mother of two. She's the creator of the Artist Oracle deck to help you connect with your intuition, as well as the My Mind is a Garden series and coloring book. A reminder that we can cultivate beauty and meaning in our minds and lives. Savana creates custom art pieces that bring beauty and sacred energy to her collector's home. She also works one-on-one with women and creatives who want to find their authentic voice, unlock their intuition, and lead a life full of joy and self-expression. So I hope you enjoy and we can learn a little bit about more intuition and self-expression. It was a great conversation. So here it is. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome to the Artistically You podcast, where mixed media art is a place for all. Here, we are going to talk about art as a mindful practice, connect with our creativity, and embrace curiosity. This is your host, mixed media artist, Jana Oliveira.
Hi, Savana. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad that you accept to be here with us today. I think it's going to be a very exciting conversation because you have so much good content. And I discovered you through a mutual Facebook group that we were. And I love when I discover your content on Instagram. And tell us to start off, what have you been doing on Instagram and also Clubhouse? We're going to talk about that as well.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm super glad to be here. So I am a full-time mixed media artist. So I work in watercolor and acrylic and ink. I am the creator of an oracle deck called the Artist Oracle deck. And I work with women to access basically their voice and their intuition. So a lot of that comes through a lens of creativity, because I think when we start trusting our intuition and our voice in one area, it really gets easier to trust it and use it in all areas of our life. I work with women on mindset and empowering them to find their creative, authentic, most powerful voice and trusting their intuition. So that's what I do on Instagram. And then every week, actually today, because it's Friday, I lead a room on Clubhouse where we talk about how to work with your intuition and how to use it in really practical ways. So it's called Intuitive Living, how to find and work with your intuition. And every week we talk about ways to find your intuition in your body and to access it through different periods of life. And just basically different ways to come home to really trusting that inner wisdom.
You to be one of the first guests here on the podcast, because this is something that I want to learn more and I'm very connected with. And I feel that pull to learn more about it. As the podcast main goal here is to also help women to connect art and well-being and mental health. So I love of all the content about self-confidence, because I think this is huge, especially for us that create art. And I think it's something that unfortunately all that is out there create this. I mean, I think always when you do art, you already have self-doubts. That is normal. But I think today it got a little hyped up with social media and everything. So tell us about, how did you get started on this path to help women with, self-confidence and all that?
So I've been creating art since I was a teenager. I took my first art classes in high school, and I've been painting ever since then. That's something that I've always done, but it hasn't been something that I've always done as a career. I was a massage therapist and an energy worker for a long time. And so I worked with people's bodies and their stories, and they're, working to help them kind of access strength and change and empowerment inside their body. And that has informed a lot of the way that I personally coach and help women, because your intuition and that inner knowing really lives in your body. It's not something that we can always access with just our minds or our thoughts. And so as I've developed my art practice over the years, it's been something where like the series would develop, like My Mind is a Garden series, where we're talking about choosing words and empowerment and beauty and cultivation, like in your own mind, as though we're a garden, and weeding out the things that, like self-doubt, like fear, like we all have those. That's a superhuman experience, but not letting those hold you back or diminish what it is that you want to create. We have the power to be really powerful creators. So that's what that series was about. And then the deck was really one of the biggest pieces that where I started to realize that my art could kind of empower others in the same way, because I started creating that deck for me. Those were images and messages that I really felt like I needed to see. And they were painted on paper cards. And so I started doing drawings or readings on Instagram, pulling the cards, and people would come every week and were interested in it becoming a deck. And so then it was almost like watching this process unfold and realizing that I would create art for me no matter what. Like that's my calling. Like I love it, and I'm so grateful that other people, collect it and purchase it and things like that. But I would create and paint no matter what. And so the idea that I can also offer sessions or work with other artists or empower other women to access their own intuition and find their own voice feels like a way for me to give back that's even bigger than my art. Because creativity has been such a safe place and has given me so much. I want other women to really understand how valuable it is when they trust their own gifts, because that's when we empower each other. Then that woman will be a lighthouse for somebody else, and it just ripples out. So the more empowered, creative women that are out there that trust their voices and trust themselves and trust their gifts, the more we uplift every other woman. And so to me, it's bigger than me, I guess.
Yes.
In that way.
And so when you say the deck, so let's talk about the deck a little bit, because I love the idea of the deck. So people out there that are not in any way whatsoever familiar with this, and they think, oh, it's like tarot, or are you reading the future? I don't think it's like this. So explain a little bit, what is the deck that you're talking about?
So the deck it's called the Artist Oracle deck, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with being an artist. It's really designed in the belief that we are all artists of our life. And so we're all creators. And if your life is a canvas, what are you making with it? And so it's not tarot, in that the cards, for example, they don't have like really strict meanings. The cards are about drawing and connecting to yourself. So you could ask a question, or you could just say, what do I need to see? And then draw a card from the deck. And there'll be an image, and some of them are joy or strength or focus. Some of the pieces are from the My Mind is a Garden series, and other ones are not. There's ones that talk about abundance or discipline or just things that really relate to life. But on the back, there's a message, and then there's also a journal prompt. So I think the thing that makes this deck the most special are the journal prompts on each card, because it's about how does this apply for you and to you. And so it gives everyone an opportunity to kind of journal and take the message deeper and figure out how this applies in their own life, and to trust their intuition and trust their magic. So when you're pulling cards and you start to see images and messages and these journal prompts that really help you go, oh, I did know that. Oh, that was exactly what I needed to see. Oh, that does apply so much. Like you start to trust your own heart through these visual images and through these messages. And it becomes sort of like this feedback where you become more trusting of your own intuition and your inner wisdom. So tools like that can be a really great jumping off point to work with your intuition, but it already exists inside of you. The cards are just helping what's already there.
Yeah. And the prompts, I think, help sometimes when we are not familiar with this kind of work, and you are afraid of your own, intuition or own sentiments about things. It kind of helps you to have more courage to go ahead. What do you think is the most women have that blocks them from trusting that inner calling or their intuition about, creating?
I think fear of judgment from other people is a big one.
Yes.
That's one that I hear a lot. And then the other thing I think is that we get stuck on is like, who am I to have that? Who am I to trust myself that much? Who am I to have these gifts that are this big in the world? And they kind of tie together, because we want to be, women have such big hearts and they care about other people so much. And I think sometimes to the extent that we let what other people think or feel, or what we're afraid of what other people will think or feel, get in the way of sharing what it is that we have to say and what it is that we have to give. When the reality is, once you start to do that, you actually empower other women that want a voice. You empower other women that want to know what their gifts are, that want to trust their bodies and want to trust their intuition and want to trust their calling. And so we have to get beyond the fear of what other people will think of us and embrace our gifts and embrace our power.
And also
so that we can share it.
Yes. And also it's that thing, I think, in that our ego is saying that people, you're afraid of the judgment, but many times people are not judging you. This is something that your ego is putting in your mind. It's that thing that we are very self-centered sometimes, thinking that people are watching your every move. And sometimes that's not true. Sometimes we think people are judging, but sometimes, they are appreciating, or sometimes they just don't say anything. And sometimes they feel afraid to say something to you. And we see in another way. And I think that blocks us.
I have such a supportive community on Instagram and on Clubhouse and on TikTok. So I feel so lucky to have that. But I also understand that there are people that might judge and there are people that might not like what I do. But the messages and the messages that I get from women saying that the deck has helped them, or that they feel inspired to try something, or that outweighs any potential judgment, because there's such purpose to me behind what it is that I do. And so I think once you step into the purpose, it takes away a lot of the fear, because what you're doing is so much bigger. So I would say if you're really fearing judgment, my tip actually would be to go bigger, would be to think bigger, because once you start realizing what an impact you're capable of having, it makes the fear of the judgment go away a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to go through that stage on being uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, I think that's a good sign. It's a sign that you're going to grow on the other side. But if you are okay with it, it's going to be okay, but it's not going to bring you as much growth on the other side.
I personally try to choose ease inside my growth. And it doesn't mean that I don't have uncomfortable growth periods. Like I have them. I absolutely have them, but I still like to choose ease in them and comfort in them. And so I think there's this idea of like, if you push yourself into this comfort zone, you're going to be uncomfortable all the time. And you might just have uncomfortable moments, but you can still build joy in and comfort in and ease in a way that makes you feel taken care of, so that you can get uncomfortable. So because
at the end of the day, you have to like what you're creating, and you have to have joy in the process, because if you don't have joy in the process, what are you doing, But talk with me a little bit, explaining, like you said, that the intuition starts in the body. Explain that a little bit for me.
So everybody's intuition operates differently. Like the way that I feel and receive information through my intuition is going to be different than the way that you do, or the way that anybody else does. But there are common threads that run together. And so my biggest tip would be for somebody that wants to work with their intuition is to just ask your body to show you yes, and then ask your body to show you no, because you'll get really very physical sensations from both of those. And it's interesting to me how many women discount their gut sensations. Oh, I have a gut feeling, or oh, I have this, but that's not my intuition. When it is, your intuition and your inner wisdom is as much a part of you as your heartbeat or your breath. It's always there. But it's for me personally, it's very calm. My intuition does not have emotion attached to it. And when I receive information, I feel my intuition in my body, and I also am clairaudient and clairvisual. So my intuition comes through what I see and what I hear. But I only know that because I've spent so much time working with mine personally, and I trust it. I trust it so much. So when you're on your path where you really want to start to get to know your intuition, you have to, one, take a look at like your nervous system, and do you feel like you can be in a calm space to even access it? And if not, then that might be a place to start, because when we're in that fight or flight, and a lot of women ask, how do I trust my intuition when things have gone wrong before, or if I'm working through trauma? And it's a relationship like any other relationship. It takes time. And it takes time coming back to trusting your body and trusting the wisdom that lives there. But it's completely possible. And your intuition speaks to you in ways that really come about from your just wanting to get to know it and wanting to experience it and wanting to build that relationship. So if you're at the beginning of that path, I would say ask yes or no. and start just saying, I'm open to my intuition. What do I notice during the day? Do I hear songs? Do I see people? Does somebody call me out of the blue? Do coincidences start happening? Just more awareness and just a little more intention can make a huge difference. About this in the clubhouse room all the time, because it's not about like having some fancy ritual. Not that you can't, but your intuition doesn't need ritual with meditation and candles, and or your intuition when you're cooking, or your intuitive practices be a part of just taking a shower. Like you have so many opportunities to just be more aware and more intentional, and just want to work with it, and then just kind of see what comes up for you. I'm in the middle of creating an ebook for people that's going to have like really concrete exercises to try to get to know their intuition, because there's so many.
I think it reminds me of Eckhart Tolle, teachings that he says about being in the moment. Like when you are taking a shower, pay attention at the shower and what's going on, and all the moments around, to be centered what's going on. Like if you're outside, listen to the trees, listen to the birds. If you are driving, pay attention where your hand is and things like that, to bring you to the moment. Because I think there are moments that our thoughts get so erratic that we forgot to center and pay attention, like what is it that I'm feeling, instead of just being quiet in that moment and recognizing it. And I think for me, I've been that quest to, with anxiety, to calm my mind, that I've been, certainly there are moments, I think especially when we are artists, there's a lot out there for artists, like in terms of even business and suggestions and this and that. And there are many times that people or classes or things said things to me, and I felt like, no, I don't think that works for me. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Even though you're saying that I should not do this, I want to do this because I feel in my heart that I want to do this. I think another moment is we are moving to another state and we are, in process of buying a house. And, when you're searching houses and you're thinking that's going to be my house for many years. So we have to, and there were many houses that I felt in my heart, like, no, it's not going to work. This is not the house for me. And I felt that it's starting to feel like I started to question myself. Is that the house that I want? Do I see myself in that house? And I started to receive this feelings that I knew, no, that's not going to work for us. And I think we have to start recognizing that in that sense. So in Clubhouse, you have this weekly room, and tell us a little bit, because I think it's going to be so much better when we move and we're going to be back to Eastern time, because I miss so many things on Clubhouse because of time, because I'm on Pacific time. I'm always behind people. But tell us a little bit about the room, because I think it's a great room, and how you help women in that room. And what time do you guys meet every Friday?
So it's every Friday at 3:30 Mountain Time. I'm in Colorado, so 3:30 Mountain Time. And I host the room with Diane Sears and Vicky Kuman, who are lovely other moderators as well. The thing I love the most about this room is that it ends some weeks. It's full of, when we introduce ourselves, and every week we talk about our intuitive wins. So we make space for women to come in and talk about how they've used their intuition that week, or if anything's come up, or just if they've really been practicing, any of the techniques or trying any of the tools that we've talked about. And then we make space for women to ask questions if they're wanting to develop their relationship with their intuition, or they're working through something like anxiety or depression or a life situation, and they're feeling, like they're having trouble accessing their intuition, or if they have questions just about any of the tools that we use, pendulums or cards or card readings, or just all of those things. And then we also just make space for women to share their stories, how they feel their intuition. And there's so much wisdom that gets shared in that room. But what I love is that usually what happens is someone will say, this is the thing I needed to hear today, or I came into this room because I just had a feeling and this is the thing that I needed to hear. Like the whole room operates on such an energetic level of of trust and of being intuitive and of changing every week to serve whoever's in that room. So I just love it because I trust that space so much that it's going to be, we all just say like, may it serve whoever is here today. And we're just having a really informal conversation. We love when people come up on stage, and we just are there to serve our community and help our community in any way we can. And that really means sometimes just listening, and other times it means, answering questions, offering things that have worked for us or things that you could try. But yeah, it's just a really beautiful space every week. So
yes, I agree.
I love it.
Something that I love about Clubhouse that I don't host anything there is mostly likely for me to learn. But I love the conversations that I've been finding there when I have time to go there. Just, not even related to art, but about women and women getting together to discuss their issues or wanting to grow, or as you said, just, I don't know, sometimes just talking about confidence and about issues that they have. I had amazing conversations and listened to amazing conversations there. And I think it's just great. And I think the fact that it's just audio, it gives people that are very shy to share things a little bit more space to share. And it's, to me, it's really great. If you're listening to this and you never been to Clubhouse, it can be what you want it to be. I try to find rooms about women getting together and discussing these things. And so far sometimes, especially in the pandemic, we feel so isolated, right? And then suddenly you go to a place that you can talk with women about any issue. About I participate in rooms about kids, about motherhood, and having a special needs child, about mothers like me, or about anxiety, and women talking about the real things that they go through. And sometimes it seems that women are not talking, and then suddenly you go to the space and a whole nother world opens. And I certainly have joined your room before, and rooms about intuition, because I want to learn more about this. I want to learn more about, I did psychology, and I'm very related to CBT, and I love to hear all this kind of talks. And it's really amazing. It's amazing the kind of conversations that we have. And I love also manifestation and to learn more about this stuff. And it's been really amazing the growth and the opportunities that we see on Clubhouse. So if you're listening to this and you feel like, oh, I don't know, it seems, and the good thing is you join when you can. And as you said, sometimes you identify, oh, it seems that the universe wanted me to be in this room. But I know you also do coloring books for women to also, I think, even like relax a little bit. Am I wrong? Or
No,
to just start practicing with tools and things like that. So tell us about it.
So the coloring book is, it's called My Mind is a Garden. So it's, again, a part of that larger series. But the way that I created it is there's like an intro page, and then there's a benefits page of coloring at the back, because coloring is definitely soothing and relaxing, and it can be a place for,
Yes.
like a great way to get into that meditative flow space. But this particular book is created so that there's an image, and then the back of the image is blank. So what I really wanted to do was give women a space of their own to create. So there are, the images throughout the coloring, but each backside of the image is blank, and there's also blank space involved in the design of each image, so that you have space to make it your own. And then you can either take them out and frame them, or you could use the backspace to journal or doodle or create or paint, or however it is that you want to use it. But it was created as a space for women to like play and have this portable book they could take anywhere and create at any time.
Is that printable, or is that physical?
No. So at the moment, it's physical. It's a hard copy. I am looking at creating, I can never pronounce this right. Is it Patreon account where I'm going to be doing Patreon, where I'm going to be doing digital, like one digital coloring book page for my Patreon collectors every month. So they'll be able to like download a different one every month. But for now, the physical coloring book, because I think there's something really important, like to having the whole space connected and having all those pages together, kind of like a journal. So I liked the idea of it being something that's
a good idea. Yeah, you can also create a journal from the coloring books for sure.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, or as like a combination like with the deck to have a journal that goes with it because of the journaling prompts.
Yes.
So it's exciting because there's lots of, I feel like there's always more creative avenues that are opening up that I want to try. It's just about balancing that with life and being a mom and painting
Yes. Yes, we know
but it's
that.
exciting because your creative options never run out. So
And you have how many children?
I have two. I have
Yeah.
a 6-year-old boy and a daughter who's almost 3.
Oh my
So
gosh. Okay. So, so as we get to the end here, what would you say? We talked about that, the majority of women say, I have fear judgment. But also, what would you say? Another topic that I think is huge is when they think they are not creative, because it's such a pet peeve for me, because I believe in my heart, every soul is creative. We were
I
born
do too.
creative. And this is such a strong thing for me. I wanted to like scream, like when somebody says to me, I can't. I said, I wanted to shake that person, say, you can.
You
Um,
can.
so tell us about a little, because I know also through your content that you're very strong about this, like me. So tell us a little bit, at least something that people can start believing in their work, believing that they are creative.
I completely agree with you. I think everyone is a creative being just by being a human being. You
Yes.
have a creative center. You have a sacral chakra creative
Mm-hmm.
center. Every human being does. And I think the more interesting question is if you feel like you're not creative, how can you make your life a little bit more like art? So whether that means arranging your food in a more beautiful way, or that means arranging, you're cleaning up a corner of your house or making a wall for yourself
Yes.
that feels really beautiful in that way, whether it's planting flowers. Some people are creative through their green thumbs. For some people, it's music. For some people, their creativity comes in how they raise their children and the games they play and the ways that they interact with other people. But I think the more interesting question is, what areas of your life do you feel like you want to make more beautiful? And then what interests you in a way, what lights you up or fuels your curiosity, or what form of beauty do you want more in your life? And to just let yourself expand on that, and your creativity is naturally going to unfold through that. So to understand that your greatest masterpiece is the life that you're living. It's never going to be the thing that you make. It is who you are.
Yes.
So what areas do you want to add beauty into? For some people, that's the way they dress. For some, it's their makeup. For some, it's the way they speak. They just are so eloquent and beautiful in their rhythm and their cadence. Like, there's so many ways, and people are so unique. So to just trust that the forms of beauty that you want in your life are valuable, and to let yourself really explore making your life the masterpiece that you want it to be, and your creativity will unfold so beautifully just from that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And beautifully said. And I think, like, I just had another interview that I recorded with a friend that we actually met each other online as well, and we've been having this, meet on Zoom to create together and just talk. And she lives in Chicago, and I live here in Washington. And we, sat down and talk and create. But when I recorded her, she was like, why are you inviting me? I'm not an artist. And I said, no, you are. You create. How come you say you're not an artist? And there's also this concept that if I'm not selling, I'm not an artist. It's the opposite. And also the podcast is open. I said that in my first episode. The podcast is going to be open for every kind of art. Every kind of art. My podcast is not just for painters, because I am a painter. My podcast is for every human being that create art with their hands, or with, as you said, in a garden. It's art in any other kind of form. So when she said that to me, I was like, don't say that. Of course you are. You create beautiful things, you record your life. And she's like, I have a full-time job. Make sure you say that. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, if you are listening to this, despite of you selling art or not, you are creative. You are an artist in every single thing you touch. We make beauty in every single thing we touch. And that's what we have. This is here for people to share. And I want to bring every kind of person to share the beauty that they bring to the world, because everything we do, no matter how small, it is beauty you're bringing. We have just this life, and we cannot think of things we do like that. I think we have to change the way we think. And I think people that do the content like you do, and I'm certainly trying to put my feet of just encouraging people to, pick up something and just create, just doodle with a pen ball. It's just like, just get it started, right? So we have to take that in and create and do whatever brings your body, your soul happiness. So, Savannah, last advice. One advice that you could end today, how people can get closer to their intuition. One thing that they can do.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that you can do is know that you can't mess it up. I think people have this idea of if they miss the call or they miss the intuition or they miss the signs or they make a mistake or they have something in life that they regret, that they have made something that's irreversible or that they can't come back from. And my advice to you would just be to understand that you can't get it wrong, that you're either always learning or growing, and to let yourself feel all of your feelings. Because when we judge pieces of ourselves as some are right and some are wrong, we are missing our wholeness, and we're missing our life is happening to us, and we're judging it as being bad or wrong, when if we could just let ourselves feel all of it and be a part of all of it. Some of it is so hard, but it's so beautiful. And so my piece of advice would be that you're not getting it wrong. And how can you just trust yourself a little bit more, and trust your life a little bit more, and trust what you want, like if your desires and your intuition and your heart are calling you to something. My mother once said to me, I was telling her about something, and I said, my soul wants this. And she said, then you must have it. And I've never forgotten it. So trust the things that are calling you, and trust yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. I am so grateful that you came to talk to me. Sometimes I think people think that the artist community is not united, but more and more I see the opposite. And I so believe that we can grow together. I'm so happy for the people that say yes and are willing to share the wisdom here to other people. I am so grateful that you came here today and said beautiful things for us, Savannah. And so, are you having anything right now going on? I know you had recently a coach program, but are you having something that you're launching right now?
I'm not sure when this will release, but tomorrow I'm doing a free masterclass for people on showing up on social media, the energy of like being seen and being comfortable, and for artists and women. Sweet container, intuition. If you're an artist, we work on how do you share your work? How do you get your work out there? How do you talk about selling it? How do you get your energy behind being an artist? If that's really what you want to do and that's what you want to build as a business, that's who I work with. But those containers are for women, whether they are artists or not. It's just really for the women who wants to create the life that is art.
And how can people know when you have a class? Do you have a newsletter that people can sign up on?
I do. So my website is linked in my bio on Instagram, and there's a place where you can sign up for my email list and you receive.
Yes, and I'll put all the links as well on the blog post for this episode.
Oh,
and
perfect. Yes.
I also
so there's
and I also would advise people to go to Savannah's Instagram and check out all her reels and her IGTV, and you're gonna be amazed with her content, and you're gonna feel uplifted. She's been doing, I think, because of this master, you just also you do a lot of stories, which is good, but you just release some reels and stuff about being shy and how you should show yourself. Or I know some people are shy with video and they don't want to show themselves, or they feel afraid. But also you have a lot of content. So if people want to learn more, she has a lot of content about intuition and of course her art. And she's a lover of watercolor like me. So just go check out her stuff because it's beautiful. And she also has a store that she sells some things related to her art, like shirts, right? Shirts and things like that.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So we have
wearable art.
We have to support small business and especially women. So we are all for that over here. And
Thank you.
I'm so glad to I think more women help women, the world would be a better place. I don't know. That's just me.
Yes, I agree. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Savannah,
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. Definitely we have to do this again. And I think people are going to take a lot of, food for thought from this episode, and I'm so thankful because I think it's going to change a lot of people's thinking. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Check episode notes at 2worldart.com/blog. Connect with Jana on Instagram at Jana_2worlds. And make sure to receive our artful insights by signing up at bit.ly/join2worldsart.